Good evening, friends, and welcome to yet another awesome session by Mindful Living. We really appreciate your taking out time and joining us this Saturday evening. I promise you that this session will be an awesome session, and you will certainly get some nuggets of wisdom which will transform your life. Before we begin, I would like to ask you a question. How many of you would like to be a winner in life? If you would like to be a winner, please type W in the chat box. If you would like to be a winner, please type W in the chat box. Thanks, Prasoon. Thanks, Deepan. Thanks, Ruchi. Thanks, Meenakshi. Let's see. Thanks, Thiru. Let's see who else wants to be a winner. If there are more people who would like to be a winner. How many of you would like to develop a champion's mindset? In case you would like to develop a champion's mindset, please type CM in the chat box. Thank you, Ruchi. Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you, Thiru. Thank you, Ria. Thank you, friends. If you would like to develop a champion's mindset and become a winner in the battlefield of life, then there is no better place to be at than in the session today. Bhagavad Gita was delivered on the battlefield of Kurukshetra more than 5,000 years back. And this book, this scripture has been translated and interpreted in many different ways by different people. But the way I look at Bhagavad Gita is that it is a text on psychology of winning the war. And there is a war which is going on in all of our lives, whether it is a war between spouses or between brothers, as was the situation in Mahabharata, or between colleagues, between boss and subordinate, or between vendor and a corporate. We are always in a situation of war. And how to win this war? We can, the knowledge for winning the war by developing a champion's mindset is what is contained in this ancient text. Even though this book was written more than 5,000 years ago, the pearls of wisdom contained in this book have remained elusive for many people because this book was written in Sanskrit. And, we are not, it's not taught very much in school. So many people are not comfortable with Sanskrit. And that's where the role of, people like Prasoon, who are corporate professionals, becomes very important because they have put in tremendous amount of effort in taking the learnings from Bhagavad Gita and applying it to our lives in the contemporary scenario, applying the learnings from Bhagavad Gita in solving the challenges that we face in our work life on a day-to-day basis. Prasoon is the founder of Hone ST Solutions and has got more than 1,000 hours of teaching Bhagavad Gita and making it more meaningful to people in today's programs. He's a consultant to a couple of multinational companies, which include organizations like Roasty Tasty, Next 360, Sora Global, and runs a certificate program on sales and marketing with Ahmedabad Management Association. He's also the author of the book, The Corporate Bhagavad Gita, Discover the Arjun with You. And we are very happy to have you with us, Prasoon, today. But before I hand it over to Prasoon, I'll take a minute to introduce myself, as some of you are joining us for the first time. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I am the founder of Mindful Living. I started Mindful Living in 2018. Prior to starting Mindful Living, I worked in the corporate sector in senior management roles for about 25 years with organizations like Tata AIG, Future Generali, Marsh, HCL, and Dabur. And the last, our mission is to help corporate professionals, 1 million corporate professionals, lead healthier, happier, and wealthier lives. We conduct sessions for organizations, and we work with leading organizations like Tata Group, Aditya Birla Group, IBM, Swiggy, EXL, and training their employees in the area of stress management, leadership development, collaboration, communication, and a wide range of topics. The session today is a part of our community initiative where we connect every weekend and we discuss about application of mindfulness in our daily lives, helping us become healthier, happier, and wealthier. Just a minute, there are a few people waiting. I'll get them in. One note I would like to share with you before I invite Prasoon to take the session forward, that the session today is not like a TV entertainment show where you are passive and just enjoying the talk. The best benefit that will come to you is by engaging actively or remaining engaged actively during the session. So please keep your screens on so that we can see you rather than a black screen with your name. It will be good if you can put your cameras on and you can remain engaged with the speaker while he's speaking. This is also not a podcast, so don't take it while you're on the move. Please be ready with a notepad and take notes while Prasoon is speaking. Note down your questions. The duration of the session is about an hour, and we will open it up for question answers at the end of the session. Wishing you the very best for this awesome session. Make the most out of this. On that note, over to you, Prasoon.
Thank you, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
And namaskar to everyone. Before we start, we will offer prayers. So you can chant with me in case you know the prayers. In case you don't know it, not a problem. Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayane Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrutavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayini Ambatvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini. Hari Om. As was requested by Ashish ji, it will be great if we can see people who are attending this. It's always better to speak to people rather than a blank screen. Welcome everyone. The preferred language is English or Hindi or both. If you can give a thumbs up on the chat box, it will be helpful. Okay. So let me ask you a question. So how many of you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita at your places? You can write Y or N in the chat box. So Manoj Nair has it. Okay, Ashish has it. Okay, a lot of people. In any form, be it digital, be it a book, be it a moti, patli, badi, choti, whatever. Okay, great. Great. So how many of you have read it? My next question. How many of you have read the Bhagavad Gita? Preeti says yes, Deepan says yes, Mudit says yes, Ashish says yes, Soundarajan not fully, partly yes. Only shloka from one chapter tried but not fully. Okay, great. Okay, so and how many of you have understood the Bhagavad Gita? Maybe only one chapter read, WIP, work in progress. It's a journey. We need to learn a lot more. Preeti says, okay, great. Not sure. And how many of you implement the Bhagavad Gita? How many of you implement the Bhagavad Gita? And trying, okay, trying, but very tough. Okay, and that is what the kind of responses. It's a continuous process. Great. And that is the kind of responses that we get whenever we do sessions like this. And a scripture which was spoken more than 5,000 years ago, as Ashish ji mentioned in his opening remarks, and which is our biggest and the best gift to the world. And the irony is we ourselves have not engaged with this scripture. And why? Because it's written in Sanskrit, as was said by Ashish ji. And there are different translations, there are different perspectives about the Bhagavad Gita. And still we have not read it, or we are reading it, we have not understood it, or we are trying to decipher it and we are trying to implement. That's the irony, and that is where things stand. Most of the people who have been famous, a lot of people, in fact, we have started a series on the power of Bhagavad Gita. It is being implemented, it is being read, it is being understood by people all across the world. And Mahatma Gandhi was one of the greatest preacher of the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, he used to practice it a lot, and he used to say that Bhagavad Gita is my eternal mother, and it is more dear to me than my ethereal mother. And when Bhagavad Gita, the tryst with Bhagavad Gita of Mahatma Gandhi happened when he was in London, when he was there to do his barrister course, and he joined an organization which was a vegetarian organization, because being a Gujarati from Porbandar, he was finding it difficult in London to find vegetarian food. At the time he banged on a restaurant which was serving veg food, and then he was making his own circle there. And at that time, he was reading Bhagavad Gita, which was the translation, and it was called the Song Celestial, which was written by Erwin Arnold. And his theosophist friend from Germany, the Olcott brothers, were reading the Bhagavad Gita in the original Sanskrit text. And in one of the shlokas, they were not very sure about what was the meaning of that shlok. And they thought that Mahatma Gandhi, being from India, will be able to help them with deciphering of that shlok. And they approached Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi went on record saying that that day I felt so ashamed that I, being an Indian, was not able to tell people from Germany what that shlok stood for. And I was reading it in English while they were reading it in the original Sanskrit text. And that is the day he took upon himself that I'll read the Bhagavad Gita and let me see that if the whole world is engaging, then why should I be left behind? And then the rest, as they say, is history. And during the freedom struggle, freedom movement, he said that whenever I used to face any challenging situation, I used to open the Bhagavad Gita randomly, and any shlok that I used to read used to give me a solution. So that is the power of the Bhagavad Gita. So today's session will be from my book, The Corporate Bhagavad Gita, Discover the Arjun in You. This book is all about the chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. And chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita is also called the summary of the Bhagavad Gita. And it is said that if someone reads, understands, and implements the chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, he has read, understood, and implemented the whole of the Bhagavad Gita. So that is the power of chapter 18, a scripture which was written more than 5,000 years ago, has a summary. Can you believe it? Today in the corporate world, whenever we are making a proposal or we are writing an email, the body of the email, we usually give the summary of what is contained in the attachment, isn't it? And that was the case 5,000 years ago. So that is the power of the chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. And it is also called the Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. So at a glance, Bhagavad Gita has 800 verses. How many? 700 verses. And how many did Arjun speak? Anyone? Of the 700 verses, how many Arjun speak? Okay, not a problem. So Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters and 700 shloks. 574 were spoken by Bhagavan Shri Krishna, 84 by Arjun, 41 by Sanjay, and one, the solitary one, the first one by Dhritarashtra. So that is the breakup of an Arjun who's seeking. The seeker is Arjun, isn't it? And he's seeking from whom? Lord Shri Krishna. And that is the time he is only asking for 84 times he speaks. That's it. Of which 21 was in the first chapter. So 21 in the first chapter is meaning that first chapter is called the Arjun Vishada Yoga. When Arjun is giving all the logic why not to fight the war. And chapter 11 is the Vishwaroop Darshan. And that is where when he's looking at the magnanimity of the Lord, of Bhagavan, he is trying to explain, he's not able to hide his excitement, and he keeps on explaining what he's looking at. So that is Arjun. And now the person who's seeking has only spoken for 84 times. And the person who is trying to make Arjun stand, or who's mentoring, who is guiding Arjun, has spoken for 574 times. What does that mean? That if I have to learn something new, then I have to listen more and talk less, isn't it? So that is the first lesson of leadership. So if I have to become a good leader, if I have to learn something new, I have to be a seeker. So that's about it. Chapter 18 also is the biggest chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 78 shloks. And we are going to just harp upon one of the concepts from the chapter 18 because time being of essence here. I'm told I can take only 1 hour, 10 minutes. So I'll try and wrap up on time. So what do we see here? You can use the chat box. So this is what do we see here? So Swayamvar, Arjun focusing, okay. Okay, focus, Arjun aiming, okay. Okay, great. So most of you say that this is Arjun. thank God. So I don't have to explain that. Okay. So yeah, this is Arjun. So what I'll do is I'll narrate 3 stories about Arjun. Okay. Story number 1 is Arjun was who was the guru of Arjun when he was studying? Anyone?
Dronacharya.
Dronacharya, absolutely. So Arjun was the Pandava scion, and there was this Kauravs, and they were cousins. They were getting their education from Acharya Dronacharya, and when Dronacharya thought that he has imparted the knowledge that he wanted to and the skill to his pupil, he wanted to take a test. So he takes both Kauravs and the Pandavas in a jungle, and on a tree he has already implanted one wooden bird with the eye marked as black. And because Yudhishthir was the eldest, he invites Yudhishthir and asks him, "What do you see, Yudhishthir?" And Yudhishthir said that I see the sky, I see the clouds, I see the tree, I see the leaves, and I also see that bird. So he said, "Okay, thank you." Then he calls upon Duryodhan, and Duryodhan, as a sycophant as he was, "Guruji, I only see you. And then I see the trees, I see the sky, I see the clouds, I see the grass, and I see that bird which is implanted there." And this goes on, and this goes on, and Guru Dronacharya was wondering whether he has been able to impart the right kind of education or not. And in the last, he asks Arjun, he invites Arjun, and he asks him, "What do you see, Arjun?" And Arjun says that I see the eye of that bird, that wooden bird on the tree, nothing else. So that was Arjun, the focus and of Arjun, single-minded focus and concentration. Story number 2. During the Agyatavas, when they were coming to the close of the Agyatavas, Arjun was told that you should do some tapa, and you should get those Divyastra from Bhagwan Indra. So he does a lot of penance, and he does a lot of tap for a lot of almost a year. And then he was invited. He got himself eligible for the Divyastra. He was invited by Indra to his court. And when Arjun was there to take the Divyastra, Indra had thrown a party. And there was this Apsara called Urvashi, who was entertaining the guests. And she was the most beautiful Apsara that was there at that point in time. And while she was performing, Arjun was not able to take his eyes off her. And Arjun was a Kshatriya, and he was well built. So Urvashi was also looking at Arjun, and because he was handsome also. Bhagwan Indra sees the chemistry, and he understands. And after the party is over, when Arjun has gone to his kaksha, his room, Bhagwan Indra asks Urvashi to spend the night with Arjun. Urvashi went to Arjun's room, and Arjun was surprised, and he lets her in. And Urvashi says that while I was dancing today, I saw that you were looking at me, and you were not able to take your eyes off me. So I'm here to spend the night with you, and I'm all yours. So Arjun says that yes, I was looking at you, but I was looking at you not from the angle of any lust. I was looking at you because you are married to one of our ancestors, Purvara, and hence you are like my mother. So when I was looking at you, I was looking at my mother. And then Urvashi said that, Arjun, you must be kidding, because we Apsaras are timeless and we are immemorial. We cannot get married to one single person. Anyone on this earth, or even in the divine world, the other world, cannot keep his hands off me, Arjun. बड़े बड़े ऋषि मुनि भी मेरे सामने मेरा सौंदर्य देख के पिघल जाते हैं, तो तुम क्या चीज हो? But Arjun stood his ground. He said, no, while I was looking at you, I was looking at my mother. That irks Urvashi, and she has never taken no for answer in her life. And that irks her, and she storms off the room. And while she was going off, she was so angry that she cursed Arjun, that Arjun, for the rest of your life, you will be impotent. तुम नपुंसक हो जाओगे अपनी जिंदगी में आज के बाद से. And she storms off his room. And only after she has left, Arjun could understand what has happened. And then he goes to Bhagwan Indra and he said that this is what he narrated the whole story. And Bhagwan Indra knew that what is coming in store for Arjun. And he said that I cannot मैं इसको वापस तो नहीं ले सकता इस श्राप को. What I can do is I can lessen the intensity of it. So for 1 year you will have to become impotent. Okay, for 1 year, because he knew what is coming, what is in store for the Pandavas. And that 1 year, that bane became a boon for that 1 year in Agyatwas when Arjun and the Pandavas were there at Virat. When he was like Brihannala. So that was Arjun, the integrity. Okay, that was Arjun. So first is focus, second is integrity. And the third is this picture. So there was this Swamvar of Draupadi where a lot of people have gathered from all over India, and they were trying to win Draupadi. And to get married to Draupadi, someone has to pierce the eye of the fish which was rotating upstairs, okay, on the roof, by seeing at the image in the water which was kept on the ground. Okay. And none of the kings and the prince were able to do that. Forget about doing it, they were not able to lift the bow. वो प्रत्यंचा, वो धनुष ही नहीं उठा पाए, वो गांडीव ही नहीं उठा पाए. प्रत्यंचा चढ़ाना तो बहुत दूर की बात है. So no one was able to do it, but Arjun did it. So that was the skill of Arjun. He is till date, he is known as the best bow wielder till date. Okay. So the focus, the integrity, and the skill, to the extent that in the Virat war, Arjun was able to neutralize the whole of the Kaurav Sena single-handedly. So that was Arjun. Okay, the same Arjun, when he goes to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he has that pride, and he had never lost in his life. He is also called as Dhananjaya because he has accumulated a lot of wealth. And when he reaches the battlefield of Kurukshetra and he asks his Sarathi, Bhagwan Shri Krishna, to take the chariot in the middle of the battlefield facing the enemy camp, because he said that I want to see that who am I fighting this war with? मुझे इस युद्ध के लिए किसने ललकारा? मैं देखना चाहता हूं. And Bhagwan, as usual, takes the chariot in the middle of the battlefield, but he places the chariot at a vantage position where it was facing Bhishma Pitamaha and Acharya Dronacharya. And when he looks at the enemy camp, Arjun sees Bhishma Pitamaha, Acharya Dronacharya, Krupacharya, and all his family members ready to fight the war against him, ready to wage a war against him. And then all his memories since the childhood came flooding in. And he said that, what am I going to do? What am I doing? So what will I get by killing all my near and dear ones? मैं जीता तो हारा, हारा तो हारा ही. So why should I be fighting this war? And he says to Lord Shri, Bhagwan Shri Krishna को बोलते हैं, दृष्ट्वेवं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं समुपस्थितं सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति. He says that सीदन्ति मम, ये युद्ध में मेरे सामने जो खड़े हुए मेरे स्वजन भगवान जो खड़े हुए हैं, उनको देख के मेरा अंग अंग शिथिल हुए जा रहे हैं. मेरा मुंह सूखा चला जा रहा है, मेरा गांडीव मेरे हाथ से गिर रहा है, और त्वक्चैव परिदह्यते, मुझे बुखार आ रहा है, मेरी त्वचा जल रही है, माई स्किन इज बर्निंग, मुझे बुखार आ रहा है। न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुम, आई एम नॉट एबल टू स्टैंड, अवस्थातुम, न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुम, आई एम नॉट एबल टू स्टैंड, भ्रमतीव च मे मनः, एंड आई एम टोटली डिल्यूडेड, बोल के वो अपना गांडीव रख के बैठ जाते हैं, बोलते हैं आई कैन नॉट फाइट दिस वॉर। अर्जुन, हु हैज the epitome of focus, integrity, and the best of skill, the biggest bow wielder, sits down on the chariot, denying to get up and fight. And that was the time that Bhagwan Shri Krishna has to take over. And take over as, when he started, he was his friend, and then he became his Sarathi, charioteer, and now he takes over as his teacher, a guide, or a mentor. And Arjun says, Karpanya doshopahatas svabhavah pruchhami tvan dharma sammudha chetaha yachreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me hishyasteham shadiman tvam prapannam. He says that he accepts that I cannot fight this war. He says that शिष्यस्तेहम शादिमान त्वाम प्रपन्नम, मैं आपका शिष्य, आपकी शरण में आया हूं, आप मुझे बताएं कि इस स्थिति में मेरे लिए क्या उचित है, what is the best in this kind of a situation. And that is where Bhagavad Gita starts. And come, let's discover the Arjun in us. Are we ready? So that was the background. So chapter 18 starts with Arjun's question. Okay. So how many of you are, you know how to chant a shlok? Are you all aware of chanting a shlok? Or let's do one thing. Let's chant the shloks. Okay. Let's chant the shlok. What I'll do is I will say this Arjuna Uvacha, and you can unmute yourself. And let it reverberate. Let's create some energy here at my place also, and at your places also. Let it reverberate in your homes, and see the energy, how it gets translated. Okay, so let's do that. Please unmute and chant after me. Arjuna Uvacha. Sannyasasya mahabaho Tattvamichhami veditum Yagasya cha Hrishikesha Pratakkeshi Nishudana. अर्जुन पूछते हैं भगवान से, संन्यासस्य महाबाहो तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुम त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक केश निषूदन। अर्जुन भगवान को 3 नाम से पुकार रहे हैं, महाबाहो, ऋषिकेश एंड केश निषूदन। तो महाबाहो means someone who has mighty arms. So someone who has mighty arms. Rishikesh is someone who has control over his or her senses. Control over his senses is called as Rishikesha. And Keshini Shudana. Keshi was a demon who had come to kill Bhagwan, but in self-defense, Bhagwan kills him. So the slayer of Keshi demon is called as Keshini Shudana. What does that mean? So there are Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter is important. Yes. Someone is out somewhere. There's a lot of noise which is coming. Okay, so while the subject matter is important, but there are some subtle hints throughout the Bhagavad Gita that we keep on getting. So Mahabahu is someone who has mighty arms, or someone who has to be in good physical fitness. Okay. Rishikesh is to have control over my mind and my senses. Okay. Keshini Shudana is killing of the demon. So if I have to kill the demon within, I should have good physical fitness, number one, and I should have control over my mind and my, isn't it? तो संन्यासस्य महाबाहो वो पूछ रहे हैं, वेदी तुम प्लीज मुझे बताइए कि संन्यास और त्याग में डिफरेंस क्या है? संन्यास तत्व और त्याग तत्व में डिफरेंस क्या है? हे महाबाहो, हे ऋषिकेश, हे केशिनी शूदन, मुझे पृथक पृथक करके बताइए. टेल मी डिस्टिंक्टली क्लियरली द डिफरेंस बिटवीन त्याग एंड संन्यास, बिकॉज बोथ त्याग एंड संन्यास have this element of renunciation or giving up. The renunciation or giving up, and hence you tell me what is the difference between the two. That's how chapter 18 starts. Then he says, then Bhagwan does not give him a straight answer. He does not tell his point of view. He gives him 4 different point of views first. Okay, and only then he comes to his point of view. So as a teacher also, or as a leader also, if someone is coming to us asking a question, he or she already has some answer in mind. Okay, so if we give an answer directly, and if that is in contrary to what he or she is thinking, then usually the buy-in does not happen. So if it's very, very important as a leader for me to build the right perspective before giving my point of view, so that there is the right kind of a buy-in. So there were 4 perspectives that he built. Okay, kamya nang karmana nyasam. So he says that some people say that desired prompted actions to be given up, and that is called as tyag. Then some people say there is another point of view which says that sarva karma phalat tyagam, that to give up the fruit of any karma is tyag. And then says tyajyan dosha vadityage. Then there is the third point of view which says that every karma is laced with some or the other evil, hence karma should not be done. So don't do anything. Is the third. And then there is a fourth view, which point of view which says that yagna dana tapah karma na tyajamiti chapare. While you can give up everything, 3 things cannot be given up: yagna, dana, and tapa. Then Arjun says, but what do you say, Bhagwan? मैं तो आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ, आप बता रहे हैं कि लोग क्या कह रहे हैं. So he says, so these are the obligatory duties, and these are not to be given up. Okay, so let's chant the shlok together. You can unmute and let's chant together. Yagna dana tapah karma त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञो दानं तपश्चैव भावनानि मनीषिणाम्. So he says that there was this 4th point of view which says that yagna dana tapah karma na tyajamiti chapare cannot be given up. I somewhat agree to that. He says. So yagna dana tapah karma na tyajyang karyam eva tat. So this cannot be given up and has to be done karyam eva. Karyam kartavyam eva means as an obligatory duty it has to be done. Why? Why it should be done? And he says, and the best part of Bhagavad Gita is Bhagwan says and Bhagwan only gives the answer. So we don't have to struggle. Okay. He will only say and he'll only give the answer. So he says, Yagna danan tapaschaiva, by practicing Yagna dana and tapaha, pavanani manishinam, one reaches a scholarly status. Manishis are people with wisdom. Manishis are people with wisdom. So if I have to reach a scholarly status, or if I have to have wisdom in life, attain wisdom in life, then I have to practice Yagna Dana Tapaha. Now you see, Yagna Dana Tapaha has come in the Bhagavad Gita in different chapters. Okay? It has come in different chapters, and let us understand that what is Yagna Dana Tapaha. Okay. So these 3 cannot be given up. Okay. These 3 cannot be given up. So yagna, dana, and tapaha. So yagna means worship or sacrifice. Dan means charity or generosity, and tap means austerity or penance. So in our context in India, whenever we hear this word called yagna, the picture that flashes in our mind is that Havan Kund, isn't it? That Havan Kund, there are Jajman sitting around the Havan Kund and they're performing yagna. Okay, and they are doing some कुछ आहुति दे रहे होते हैं. Okay, so depends on what kind of a yagna is being organized, and there are so and उसमें भी वो बोलते हैं कि Om Agne Swaha Agneya Idam Namama. So he says that Agne Swaha, Agni ko arpan kiya, Agneya Idam, wo ab aapke liye hai, Namama, it does not belong to me anymore. So I've given up this to you, and I've given also my attachment to this. So that's yagna, worship. That is how we understand yagna. Dana is charity or generosity. So as we understand, it is we can give only something which we have, isn't it? That is dana. I cannot borrow from someone and give it to someone else. That is not dana. So dan can be dhana dan, currency, vastra dan, anna dan. Okay. So all these are dan, shram dan, bhumi dan. So these are dan as we know it. And tapa we do austerity. So what kind of austerity we do? That I fast on Mondays. Okay. I keep fast on Mondays. So that is the kind of austerity, or we understand austerity as. And on Monday only, my family will cook the best of the food that I like. And I'll not be able to have that. So I'll tell them that keep it for tomorrow, I'll have it tomorrow. So that is how we understand yagna, dana, tapaha. Okay, but let us understand in what is the context that he's trying to tell us. So if I have to achieve anything in life, a goal that I set for myself, if I have to achieve a goal in my life, then I have to, without doing yagna, dana, tapaha, it is not possible. Not possible to succeed. Not possible to succeed. It's a way of life, you see. So yagna is worship or sacrifice. So the goal that I've set for myself, if I have to achieve that goal, I have to mobilize all my resources towards the achievement of that goal. Mobilize all my resources. Okay. So mobilizing, so what are the resources which are at my disposal? I have the resource of time, I have the resource of energy, I have the resource of manpower, I have the resource of money, I have the whatever resources, the raw materials in case of a corporate, the promotional activities, these are all the resources. So I have to mobilize all that resources towards the achievement of that goal. And while I work like worship, isn't it? I work like worship. So yagna is mobilizing all my resources towards that goal is yagna. And then comes tapaha. Tapaha is single pointed focus and concentration. And while I mobilize all my resources towards that goal, I have to have that single pointed focus and concentration of the mind and the senses towards mobilization of resources towards that goal. That's tapaha. So tapaha is manasascha indriyanam ekagrayam paramam tapa is called as tapaha. The single pointed focus and concentration of mind and the senses towards the goal is called as tapa. That's austerity or penance. So if I am doing, if I have to achieve that goal, first I have to mobilize all the resources like worship towards that goal. And when I do that, I am not distracted by anything that comes my way, and hence I end up saving a lot of energy. And when I save that energy, a single-minded focus and concentration, I pursue that goal passionately. I pursue that goal. And when I do that, what will happen? There will be some result, because every karma will have some or the other result. Anything that we do will have some or the other result. So some result will be there. And if I'm working like that, and if I get success, that success is to be attributed to everyone who has helped us achieve that goal. Everyone. Okay. And that is to be done generously. And that not miserly, that has to be done generously, because no one can say that I alone has done it. No one can say. Only the nature can say, only the Almighty can say that I have built this universe alone. Otherwise, no one can say that I have achieved this alone on my own. No, it cannot happen. Okay. So, and hence we have to be grateful to people. We have to be thankful to people and be generous in that. That is called as dana. Okay. So yagna, dana, tapaha, it's a way of living. So if I have to achieve a goal, I have to mobilize all my resources towards that goal so that there are no distractions, single pointed focus and concentration. And when I get the result, if it is as per my liking or the goal that I had set in, if I achieve that result, I should be thankful to people and I should do it generously to people. Okay. And in case I'm not, then I have to make some subtle changes in the input and then I have to again pursue it. So that is called as yagna, dana, tapaha. And we call it that if I have to succeed in life, then I have to have, if I have to succeed in life, I have to practice worship or sacrifice, work like worship. So when we work like worship, we have to sacrifice a lot of things. A is austerity or penance, that if I have to achieve it, pursue it passionately, then I have to have single-minded focus and concentration on the goal at hand. And G is generosity or charity. So if I have to have that swag in my life, I have to practice yagna, dana, and tapaha. So yagna is worship or sacrifice. Dana is austerity or penance. G is generosity or charity. Okay, yagna, dana, tapaha. Only then I get success. Okay. So now he says, even yagna, dana, and tapaha are to be done like this. So it is, while we have to do yagna, dana, tapaha, how and why it has to be done. So let us chant together. You can unmute and chant with me. Etan yapitu karmani.
Etan yapitu karmani.
Sangam tyaktva phalani cha. कर्तव्यानीति में पार्थ
कर्तव्यानीति में पार्थ
निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम् even these karma etan yapitu karmani, even these karma, which karma? The obligatory duties. Okay, the kartavya karma that he has said, even these karmas are to be done by sangam tyaktva phalani cha. Sangha is attachment, tyaktva is to give up, phala is the fruit. By giving up of my attachment to the fruit of action. Okay, then someone may ask that if I have to give up my attachment to the fruit of action, why should I do? Why should I do in the first place? Okay, and the best part is, as I said, Bhagavan only explains. And he says, Kartavya niti me partha, because these are, partha is Arjun, because Arjun, these are your obligatory duties. Kartavya niti, because these are your obligatory duties. Nishchitam matamuttamam. ये मेरा निश्चय किया हुआ मत है और ये उत्तम है. मत उत्तमम. And this is the best. This is my ascertained view and this is the best. No questions asked. So he says that, see, if you have to live a life which is very fulfilling, okay, and we have to pursue a goal, we have to pursue it in a manner where passionately, where we are able to mobilize all the resources, single-minded focus and concentration, if we have to succeed, and only then we will get some success. Okay, and once we achieve that success, it has to be attributed to people who have helped us achieve that. And then sangam tyaktva phalani cha, We don't get attached to the fruit of result. Why? Because the output is not in our hand. The output is not in our hand. The only thing which is in our hand is to give the input. That's it. The output is not in our hands. So you may succeed, you may not succeed. So whatever is the, because in case I get attached, so what happens is if the result is contrary to what I have set out to achieve, then usually I am not, I get stuck. How do I move on then? I get stuck there. Okay. So hence, what is not in my hand, let us not be attached to that. Sangan tyaktva phalanicha. It is not in our hands. Okay. So someone in the chat has asked me, what does that S mean? Isn't it? What does the S mean? So S means, so I'll take you back. S means that it is, kahan pe tha S, kahan pe dekha? Acha, S is success. If you want to succeed in your life, then you have to practice WAG. Okay. Worship or sacrifice, austerity or penance, and generosity or charity. Okay. So that was S. So how and why? So even the yagna, dana, tapaha, whatever we do in life, we do not have to get attached to the result. And then he says that drop the personal likes and dislikes. So Arjun had asked, please tell me distinctly and clearly the difference between tyag and sannyas. So he is, while saying that what is tyag, he said three things cannot be given up. We should know tyag kis cheez ka karna hai. What is to be given up? We should know, and what is not to be given up. We should also know that. So yagna, dana, tapaha is not to be given up, and without any attachment to the fruit of result and without any attachment to the result itself. Fruit of action and without any attachment to the result itself. Now he says one more clause, he puts one more clause. Drop the personal likes and dislikes. Drop the personal likes and dislikes. So let us chant this shlok. You can unmute and chant after me. Nadveshtya kushalam karma.
Nadveshtya kuchalam
karma.
Kushalena nushajjate.
Kushalena
Nushajjate.
Tyagi sattva samavishtaha.
Tyagi sattva
Medhavi chinna samshayaha. So he says, na dvesti akushalam karma, kushale na anushajjate. So he says that don't get akushala, kushala and akushala. Though two words are used here, kushala and akushala. So if you look at the literal meaning, kushala and akushala means dexterous. Okay, dexterity is kushala, but here it is being used as pleasant and unpleasant. Pleasant and unpleasant. So he says that karma is the action or the activity. So I don't hate the activities which are not pleasant. Na dvesti is hating, okay, disliking. Akushalam karma. So I should not hate any action or activity which I don't like. Kushale na anushajjate, and I should not get attached to any action or activity which is as per my desire. As per my desire. Kushale tyagi sattva samavishtaha medhavi chinna samshayaha. So this kind of a tyagi is called, this kind of a tyag by that person is called as satvik tyag, and this kind of a person is called as medhavi, is intelligent, intelligent, bright, brilliant. Chinna samshayaha is without any doubt. Without any doubt. See, whenever in an organization, when people are getting recruited, okay, the HR department will do all that formalities to take the interviews, schedule the interviews, take the interviews, offer letter, appointment letter, induction, training, all those things will be done by HR. But if someone has to be asked to go, then his boss is usually asked to give that news to that person. Okay. So, should not hate what is not as per my, which is not pleasant as for me, and we should not get attached to something which is very pleasant to us. Because what will happen is, if I get attached to something which is pleasant to me and not get and hate something which is not pleasant to me, then there will be personal likes and dislikes. Personal likes and dislikes. As a leader, I cannot choose people who are there in my team. Okay, and there will be different people from different background, different skill level, will level, knowledge, different cultural levels, different backgrounds, different age, different sex. Okay, so I cannot get attached to some people, and I cannot be hating some people, because what will happen is it will not bring out the best in everyone. So as a leader, I may fail in my duty in getting the best out of everyone. So na dveshte kushalam karma kushale na anushajjate. And this can happen only when I'm focusing only on the goal. Only on the goal, and I'm trying to mobilize all my resources. And if these are my resources, each resource is important. So I cannot be hating or liking some of them and hating some of them and liking some of them. Cannot happen. It will not give the kind of result that I'm looking forward to. So that is what it says. And then he goes on to explain another concept. He says, action or activity. So what do you mean by action or activity? Anyone? Karma. What do you mean by karma? Action or activity?
I think action.
Sorry?
Action.
Action.
Action or activity?
Action.
Action.
Yeah.
I think activity.
Yeah, it is action or activity. So it is anything that tires me out is action.
Yes.
So
Burn.
anything that I do, it's anything that tires me out is action or activity.
Occupied.
Yeah. Okay. So let's chant this slok, and then we will look at what it is being said here. You can unmute and chant after me. Nahi deha bhruta shakyam.
Nahi dehabhrata shakyam.
Tyaktum karmanya sheshatah.
Tyaktum karmanyasheshatah.
Yastu karma phalatyagi.
Yastu karma phalatyagi.
Satyagitya vidhiyate. So he says, nahi deha bhruta shakyam. Nahi na shakyam. It is not possible. Deha bhruta is dehadhari purush, the embodied one. Anyone with a physical body, for him or her, it is not possible. What is not possible? Tyaktum karmani asheshatah. To give up karma indefinitely, completely. Asheshatah is completely. Okay. Then what is to be given up? Yastu karma phalatyagi. So karma phal ka tyag, to give up the attachment to the fruit of action, is yastu karma phalatyagi satyagi tavidiyate. He is the actual tyag. Okay, or he or she is considered to be the actual tyagi. Now, the sangha is one word which is used in the Bhagavad Gita a lot of times. Okay, sangha. Okay. So sangha is attachment. So attachment is something that happens. So what do you mean by attachment? What do you understand by attachment? Anyone?
Me, myself, my own.
Expectation. Outcome or expectation.
Okay, right, absolutely. So insistence on fulfillment of desire only in the way I want it. I'll repeat. Insistence on fulfillment of desire only, bold, underline, italics, only in the way I like it. Okay, that's attachment. So let me tell you and let me give you an example. all of us have been have taken a public transport, a bus sometimes in our lives. Okay. अगर नहीं भी देखा है तो कोई बात नहीं, मेरे साथ ये स्टोरी में चढ़ लेते हैं बस एक बार. Okay. So there was this person who was sitting in a bus, and the bus was quite crowded. Okay. And in one of the stop, a pregnant lady gets into the bus, and this guy was a gentleman, and he stood up and he offered his seat to that pregnant lady, and the lady sits down and the bus moves on. And the moment the lady is comfortable sitting, takes out her mobile and she starts fidgeting in with her purse, and she gets busy. And after some time, this gentleman asks this lady, "Did you say something?" And she said, "No." Then and she is back on her mobile. After some time again, this gentleman asks, "Did you say something?" She said, "No." Again, the bus moves on. Then again he asks, "Did you say something?" And by this time, this lady was quite irritated. She said, "No." Then she said, "Oh," then he said, "Oh, I thought you said thank you." So even after giving up that seat, the attachment has remained. Wanted to hear the thank you from that lady. Just imagine, in a bus, in a moving bus, which we know that it is only for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, or whatever. We are not going to stay there still. So that's attachment. Insistence on fulfillment of desire only in the way I want it. So nahi deha brut asakam. It is not possible for a embodied man to give up karmas indefinitely. So what is to be given up is karma phal ka tyag. So only thing that is in my hand is to give up my expectation of the karma phala. Okay. The result which is going to come, any which ways it is not in my hand. Any which ways it is not in my hand. And zindagi, now that we have taken birth, we have to karma to karna padega. Action or activity to karna hi padega, because it is not possible to give up karma. And if someone says, "Nahi, I will not do anything, I will only be lying down. I will not do anything in my life." Okay. So karma is what? Anything that tires me out. For how long can you sleep? How long can you sleep? Okay. Or lie down, or sit at one position, or sit in one place. How long can you do anything? Can you be there not doing anything? Not doing anything. So karna to kuch padega. Karna to kuch padega. And like the Newton's third law of motion, every action will have equal or opposite reaction. Every inaction also. Huh? So every action will have equal or opposite reaction. So if I have to do something, nahi deha bruta shakyam, I cannot give up karma indefinitely. So I have to do something. So if I have to do something, I should know what I have to do. And what is the righteous thing to do? I should know that. Okay. Yastu karma phala tyagi satyagi thyabhidiyat. Okay. And how many of you have taken a flight? All of us? A flight. Okay. So whenever we take a flight, okay. For example, I'm in Ahmedabad and I take a flight a small flight to Delhi. Okay. The flying time is 50 minutes or 1 hour. So when we get into the flight and when we settle down, we are asked to put on that seat belt, isn't it? We have asked to put on that seat belt. So put on the seat belt. The flight takes off and we land at Mumbai, and it taxis, and then it comes to the tarmac and it comes to a halt. The moment it comes to a halt, the first thing everyone does is to unbuckle the seat belt and get up, isn't it? Knowing fully well that I cannot be going out of this aircraft. I cannot be going out of this aircraft now. Okay. But still everyone stands up. Why? Because everyone is tired sitting. एक जगह बैठे बैठे भी थक गए लोग. Everyone is tired sitting. Hence, I cannot be sitting anywhere. So it is not possible for me to not do anything. Tyaktum karmani asheshatah yastu karma phala tyagi. So I should know what is to be given up. So karma phal ka tyag. Okay. Then he says, and why these things should be done? He says, control the controllable. So we can only control which is in my control, isn't it? In the corporate world, it said control the controllable. So let us chant this slok. You can unmute and chant with me. Adhishtanam tatha karta.
Adhishtanam tatha karta.
Karanam cha pruthak vidham.
Karnam cha
Vividhascha pruthak cheshtaha. Daivam chaivatra panchamam. It says there are 5 factors which are required to succeed. There are 5 factors which are required to succeed. The first is Adhishtan. Adhishtan is the address or the abode. The physical body for us, in a corporate parlance, it is the address of that organization. Karta is the doer. Okay, the doer. So all the employees of an organization. And in our parlance, it is me. Karnan are my sense organs. So we have 5 sense organs. Karnan are my sense organs. In organization parlance, it is a different departments. The marketing, sales, finance, service delivery, HR. So these are the sense organs. Vividhasya pruthak cheshtaha. And the different action or activities done by people in the organization or in my at a personal level being done by me is the vitality or the pran. Vividhasya pruthak cheshta. All the different kind of activities that are being done. So if all the 4 are in place, Adhishtan, which is the address or the body, Karta, the doer, Karnan are all the 5 sense organs, and the Vividhasya and the different kind of activities, but result is dependent on the 5th factor. Okay, the 5th factor, and that is called as Daivam. Now, Daivam we can understand as either the Almighty, we can understand is as the power beyond us, the nature, the universe. Okay, we can say alpha, beta, gamma, whatever we want to say. But there is one power which is beyond us, and the output is not in our hands. In the current times, if you see, since the last 1.5 years, or a little more than 1.5 years, the current pandemic, no one had ever thought that we will be living like this. So one goes and the another comes. I was looking at one of the WhatsApp chats, and it says that this virus has also become like a software of a company. Every time there is an upgraded version that comes in. Okay. So the output is not in my hand. So hence what is in my hand is only to give input. So Daivam Chaivatra Panchamam. So I'll just give an example. Any organization, I've worked with organizations for more than 23 years. And for the last 4 years, I'm consulting to organizations. Sales and marketing is my forte. So any organization with the same people, selling the same product in the same place, which is the geography, with the same promotion, at the same price, with the same packaging, selling through the same people. Okay. Sales of 2 months are never identical, isn't it? So it is even in a manufacturing setup, the same machinery, the same man, the same material, the same 2 months, the output is not the same. Output is not the same. Okay. So there is the 5th factor which decides the output, and it says that the dice will be rolled by me, Arjun. So you forget about the outcome. The only thing that you can control is the input, and hence control that. And hence what is to be given up, we should know, and what is not to be given up, that's more important. What is to be done? The obligatory duties, yagna, dana, tapaha, cannot be given up. And then he says, drop the ego. Drop the ego. While doing all these things, drop the ego. So let's chant this slok. Yasya naham kruto bhavaha.
Yasya naham kruto bhavaha.
Buddhiryasya na lipyate. Atva pisa ima lokan. Ahantina nibadhyate. So he says, Yasya na aham kruto bhavaha. Aham is ego. Bhavaha. Okay, ego is so ego is the I. The I. Okay. So who has this personal likes and dislikes? Who has attachment to the fruit of action? Who has attachment to the result itself? Who has expectation? I have the expectation. I have attachment. So he says, drop that ego. So he says, drop that ego. Na yasya naham kruto bhavaha buddhir yasya nilipyate. And someone who has dropped this ego, his intellect does not get entangled. Buddhi yasya nalipyate. Hatva pisaiman lokan. And when his intellect does not get entangled, this kind of a person, if he goes and kills the whole world, hatva pisaiman lokan, na hanti na nibadhyate. He does not kill and he is not bound. This does not mean that someone goes on a killing spree. Huh? No. So what is being said? That a person who has given up his attachment to the fruit of action, attachment to the result itself, given up his personal likes and dislikes while doing his obligatory duties, yagna, dana, and tapaha, okay, and then he drops his ego also. His intellect does not get entangled. Buddhir yasana lipyate. And this kind of a person, even what kind of action or activity will this kind of a person do? Isn't it? So hatva pisaiman lokan, even if he goes and kills the whole world, nahanti nibadhyate. Okay. And that is why a person who is posted at the border, if he kills, he is rewarded or he is awarded the different medals, okay, and the different designations. But if a civilian goes and kills someone, then he is put behind the bars. So किस भाव से किया गया है? Karma is very, very important. And hence, so wrap up. So obligatory duties are yagna, which is worship or sacrifice. Dana is charity or generosity. And tapaha is penance or austerity. And how they are to be done? So if we have taken birth, we have to do something. We have to do something. Okay, so if we have to do something, then we should know what is right, what is righteous. So yagna, dana, tapaha, and even these are to be done without any personal likes and dislikes, without any attachment to fruit of action, without any attachment to result itself. And in the beginning, Arjun has asked that please tell me distinctly and clearly the difference between tyag and sannyas. So this is called as tyag. So tyag is not giving up the world. Okay, tyag is not giving up karma. Okay, so tyag is doing the right karma and giving up of the attachment and the personal likes and dislikes. And then he says, giving up of ego. Even these are to be done by giving up of ego, giving up of the sense of doership. Yasya naham kruto bhavaha. Maine kiya, no. Giving up the sense of doership. So, वो जो हमने कहानी देखा था, I thought you said thank you. Okay. So once I have done my duty, I have to move on. Finish. And giving up of enjoyment. So enjoyment is anything that is dependent on any external stimulus. Happiness emanating out of any external stimulus is called as enjoyment. So giving up of that. And that is called as sannyas. Okay. So sannyas is a subtle above tyag. So while I do everything which is defined in tyag, I give up my ego, the sense of doership and enjoyment. It's a subtle above. So that is called as sannyas. So sannyas is not gerua vastra pehn liye, some saffron cladded clothes and all, or bare bodied. No, that is not. This is what is sannyas. So come, let's get that swag in our lives. Thank you. Dhanyavad. These are our coordinates. In case you have any questions, we are ready to take.
Awesome, awesome, Prasoon. Thank you so much for such an awesome session. And it was really amazing the way you brought it to a close and answered the question which starts the chapter. What is Tyag and what is Sannyas? That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Wonderful session. Wonderful session.
Thank you, Ruchi. We are getting some awesome feedback, but what we will request before we open up the session for question and answers, we will request you to share your feedback. We will sharing the link to a Google form, and it will take you less than a minute to fill out that feedback form. Please share your feedback. Your feedback is very important to us, and we thrive on the feedback that you give us. And once you're done with the feedback, please type FD, feedback done, in the chat so that we know you have submitted your feedback form. And while you are filling out the feedback form, I would like to share that this month, the month of December, we are celebrating as Gita Mahotsav. Last week, we had a session on Gita and image management. And today's session from Prasoon, you have already seen how excellent it is. Next week also, we have an exciting session on Gita, which is Gita and goal setting. And the week after that, we have another session, awesome session, which is Jeevan ke Rang Gita ke Sang. So we have one full month of different application of Gita in our lives. These sessions are delivered by professionals who are leading active lives. Sometimes people think that Gita is something that you need to read if you have renounced the world. But these are people, our speakers are not people who have renounced the world. They are leading active corporate lives, leading businesses, leading companies, and they are practicing Gita and benefiting from it. Practicing and teaching, like Prasoon does. Prasoon addresses boards of different companies on the application of Gita in running business companies. So he is a very, very busy professional, very much in demand as a speaker. And we are really grateful to you, Prasoon, for taking out time from your busy session and coming and addressing all of us and sharing your insights. So friends, I see a few feedback done. Remarks, please take out, it takes 30 seconds to fill out the feedback form. Please fill out the feedback form. Also, if you would like to stay in touch with us and know about our upcoming events, which I mentioned about, you can join our Mindful Living WhatsApp community using the chat WhatsApp community chat group link that we have shared, and you can stay in touch with us and continue to get inputs about the sessions that we do. So with that, we will open it up for questions. What I'll request you to do is raise your hand, and and we will take up the questions sequentially. You could also put them in the chat, so whatever works. So Radhika, thanks for raising your hand. You may please unmute yourself and ask a question.
Sir, in the morning, I do a lot of meditation, and I have my spiritual guide. Today morning, he told us that read Gita as Krishna, as you are Krishna, and he explained it. And just now you said you speak as if you are Arjun. So now I'm really confused.
See, it depends on perspective, and as I said, that everyone has their own perspective. Okay, reading as Krishna will mean that reading from the point of view of a mentor, whereas how we see it is how we are all facing challenging situations in our life day in and day out, and we, at least I see myself as Arjun, and in any challenging situation, I am seeking that answer from the Bhagwan, and that's how I look at it. How to be righteous every time that you are conducting yourself is important to me, and that is what is also the purport of the Gita. Because if you look at Arjun gets deluded, okay, a person who has never lost a war, a person who is very, very focused, skillful, willful, integrity, high on integrity, and still down on the chariot and says that I cannot war. And that is the kind of a delusion or illusion that keeps on happening whenever we are pushed. And that is where I think it is the manual for life to fall back on and get our answers from. Okay. So reading it from Krishna's perspective, I have not tried it, so I will not be the right person to answer.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for clearing it.
Thank you.
But according to him, he says that if you read if you read Gita from the perspective of Krishna, it will be much clearer than to get more confused as a seeker of Arjuna.
See, as I said, I have not tried it, but as a student, I would always like to have a mentor and the guide. And Bhagavad Gita is a manual for life. So
but I would really want to learn from you that if you would seek it from the Krishna's point of view, why don't you try and do that and explain it? I really enjoyed the session today.
See, the whole purport of the Bhagavad Gita is what is my conduct. Okay, I cannot be responsible for how you conduct yourself, isn't it? I am not responsible for even how my wife conducts herself or my kids do that. Okay? So the only thing that I can do right is to conduct myself righteously, and for that I should know what is right. So that's all about Bhagavad Gita. If you look at the Bhagavad Gita, the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, the first shloka of the Bhagavad Gita says, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavas chaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. So dharma kshetre. So the first word is dharma. And the last shloka of Bhagavad Gita, it says that yatra yogeshwara krishnaha yatra partho dhanurdaraha tatra shrir vijayo bhutihi Ruvani tirma tirmama. So he says, and the last word of the Bhagavad Gita is mama. Okay. So the purport of Bhagavad Gita is mama dharma. Okay. My dharma or my duties. That is the purport of the Bhagavad Gita. So I have to conduct myself. So I should know that what is right or what is wrong, because I cannot be responsible. Even Bhagwan Shri Krishna, while he kept on saying, Uttishta Arjuna, बार बार उसको बोलते हैं उठ के खड़ा हो war कर, but he never said anything that I am going to fight the war for you. No, you only will have to fight this war. You will have to fight this war. I can only tell you how to fight the war.
Right.
Because advice is something that, what is the definition of advice? Advice is something that everyone needs and everyone gives, but no one takes.
Yeah, you have to follow your own mind.
Yeah, and for that I should know what is right, isn't it?
Right.
Here I would like to say something, that in all of us there is a one Arjuna existing. Absolutely. And that is full of curiosity, full of questions. So all these questions are addressed by Sri Krishna. So we are all Arjuns. So we should read Gita as from the perspective of Arjuna only. How can we read Gita from the perspective of Krishna? This is absolutely funny.
No, it's not. See, everyone has the right to their opinion.
Ma'am, he's going to explain it tomorrow, that why read it from the perspective of Krishna. And I will definitely get in touch with you guys, what he explains.
Yeah, no, he must be having a point.
Equally valid views, in fact.
Yeah, Ravi, you are trying to ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any question actually, Prasanna Kunji. I think it is an excellent and a very insightful and enriching session. I'm very thankful to Ms. Ashmita Sharmaji, who made me to join for this session. And it's an excellent session, Prasanji. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's not me, it is the Bhagavad Gita. And the endeavor of ours is to engage with the Bhagavad Gita and reach it to the masses. That is what I told Ashish ji, that 24/7, 365 days a year, we are available for Bhagavad Gita.
So why do you have classes once a week, sir? Why don't we have it frequently?
You are asking me or Ashish ji?
Asking you.
Asking me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was invited by by Ashish ji for this session, and I have delivered this session here. But I have been taking sessions on Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, so what I would request is if you could share about the work that you do in terms of teaching people about Bhagavad Gita, and if they can, you've shared your coordinates, but when are you planning to launch your next batch, and when people could get in touch with you to inquire about the next batch, etc.
So first of all, I don't teach the Bhagavad Gita. I'm no one to teach the Bhagavad Gita. It has already been taught by Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So what we do is we try and engage with the Bhagavad Gita, and see the chanting that we were doing. Why I do these chantings is because only this chanting, there is so much of positive energy that happens. I don't know whether you all felt it or not, but in one of our we do Gita chanting is enchanting. One batch we do. Yeah, thank you. So one batch we do of Gita chanting is enchanting, and in one of the batches, someone from Delhi, Omkar Nath ji, had joined, and after we had finished the class, after 2 weeks, he writes a message on the group that today my wife was telling me that why are you not chanting today? So I was surprised because I told her that when I was chanting, or when I used to chant twice a week, you used to be in the kitchen doing your work. Why should, how does it matter for you? And then she said that you keep on chanting, it creates a lot of positive vibes in the house. Okay. In fact, in the chapter 18, shlok number 73, if I'm not mistaken, Bhagwan says, Adhyeshyate chaya imam dharmyam samvadam avayoho jnana yagnena tenaham ishtasyamiti me matihi. He says that तेरे मेरे बीच का ये धर्म संवाद जो भी सुनेगा अर्जुन, जो पढ़ेगा, केवल पढ़ेगा, अध्येष्यते चया इमम धर्मयम संवादम आवयोः, तेरे मेरे बीच का ये संवाद जो केवल पढ़ेगा अर्जुन, मैं उससे ज्ञान यज्ञ से पूजित होऊंगा, and he'll be very dear to me. He'll be worshipping me and he'll be very dear to me. Okay, so what we do is we first, because the biggest inhibition today of people picking up the Bhagavad Gita, which is our gift to the world, is they are not able to read it. And I was in this stage 3 years before when I had asked for a Bhagavad Gita star publication की आ गई घर पे, खोला, पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं, पढ़ना ही नहीं आता. Okay, so गीता chanting is enchanting हम इसलिए करते हैं, एटलीस्ट फर्स्ट हम लोग पढ़ना शुरू करें. पढ़ना शुरू करेंगे तो it will keep on deciphering, अपने आप decipher. It's that powerful.
Thank you so much, Prasoon. Yes, Preeti. And we are almost at the end of the session, so that will be the last question we will take. If you have any questions that remain unanswered, you may please type them in the chat, and we will reach out to you separately.
So this is not a question, but I wanted to thank you, Ashish ji, and thank you, Prasoon, because such a divine dialogue doesn't reach to an average person like me. I feel if any one of us who are here on this call, we all are lucky, otherwise we would not have got this blessed listening. So I just feel that we all are instrumental in getting connected, but we have something bigger to discover yet. So I'm so grateful to Ashish ji, you, and to Prasoon, you, for really coordinating and sharing this wonderful dialogue of God and Arjun. Truly enlightening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Preeti,
for your kind words. It is feedback like this which motivates us to go on week after week. As I requested earlier, in case you would like to stay connected with us, use the link and join our WhatsApp community. And you will keep getting details about our future sessions. The next session is next Saturday at 5 p.m. And I would like to bring this session to a close by thanking Prasoon ji for an awesome session. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It is your coming together that motivates us to, to share this wisdom and make a difference to the humanity in our own small way. We call it Gilari Seva. It is like how the squirrel helped Lord Ram build the bridge across the sea in their own small way. That is how we share. This is our Gilari Seva to make the world a better place. Yes, Prasoon, with your comments,
so,
we will close it.
Yeah, so we will just say the closing prayers and then we close.
Yeah, okay.
So it is the Charam Shloka of Bhagavad Gita, 66 number slok from chapter 18. In case you know, you can chant with me, and otherwise you can listen. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana va prakrute svabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai Narayanayeti samarpayami Narayanayeti samarpayami. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Hari Om.
Thank you, Prasoon, for those divine prayers. And what a way to finish the session. Thank you, everybody, once again for joining us. Have a lovely weekend and look forward to seeing you next week, next Saturday at 5 p.m. Bye-bye. Have an awesome weekend.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Bye, Ashish.
Thank you.
Thank you.